Good morning. Happy Friday. Coffee and the card day. It's going to be Daisy Day. A lot of Stampin' Up things to do today. I'm going to squeeze in a walk with some friends. So, like my shirt says, it's the little things that bring you joy, bring you happiness, and hope you are doing some fun things to kick off your weekend too. If you're joining me live, welcome. And if you're watching the replay, I appreciate you doing that as well. Today is August 8th, 2025. I'm Lorraine Sish, Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. I live in the Baltimore area of Maryland, and I come to you most Fridays to do coffee and a card. So grab your beverage, grab your coffee, your tea, your water, or whatever you're drinking today, and come watch what we're going to be doing today. Oh, that hits the spot. So I am continuing using and showcasing the Charming Day stamp set and bundle. Charming Day, with the beautiful stamp set and the coordinating dies. Some cut out those flowers, and others are just what we call standalone dies, where they're images that are more solid, more detailed, and they don't match up with a particular stamp, but they coordinate with that. So hello, welcome. Please say good morning in the comments. So I like to say hello back to you personally if I can. And we know who's on, and we can maybe say where you're from. That would be wonderful. Okay, we usually have a lot of regulars on. Some of my Daisy Bunch come on, some regular followers, and I love to see new people too. So welcome again. In addition to showcasing the Charming Day bundle, it also coordinates with Floral Charm Designer Series paper. Oh, I forgot to plug in my embossing, my heat tool. We're going to do some heat embossing today. So I'm going to split my screen and show you some of this paper while we're waiting for a few other people to join on. Okay, like I said, please say hello in the comments if you're here and you'd like to say hello to us too. Okay, so let me split my screen. Let's do this view. That's a little bit better here. Yeah, I'll do this way. There we go. Okay, so just look at the coordination of all of this designer series paper. This is one of the reasons why I had to get this suite. I did, of course, loved the stamp set. It was beautiful. But I do have a lot of flowers. Hi, Susan. Hi, Debbie. And I said, well, maybe I'll use my money toward other things that are different. But then I saw this paper. I said, oh, and if we're going to get the paper, I'm going to want the dies and the stamp set too. So I just did the whole suite. So it comes with coordinating embellishments as well, which I don't have out here today. But you know what? That's okay. It's all good. We have enough to focus on today. So I am showing you basically one card layout. It's going to use a variety of either. You can use either stamping, you can use your designer series paper, and we're going to do some embossing folders. We're going to do some heat embossing. It's going to be a busy day. So hang on to your seat, put on your seatbelts because we're going to run here. Let me show you really quickly some of the designs that are here. The colors on here in this designer paper are Berry Burst, Blackberry Bliss, Mossy Meadow. Well, you can see some. Here we go. These are like the more backgrounds of them. Night of Navy, Pretty Peacock. Let me grab out a little scrap here so we can see that. Pretty Peacock and Timid Tiger, which you can see. Oh, no, you can't see in the camera. There you go. You can see it over here. So those are the colors. Now let me flip these over and you can see the more floral print side. Okay, so there we go. Love the blues and the oranges on there. The darker ones Looks like a dark timid tiger, but I would even bring in some Cajun craze on that, and I think I have actually. um, okay, same thing here. See that beautiful roses, that middle there. I That's Cajun craze, and I would say this lighter one you can tie in petal pink with that as well. So a lot of options here. With all the shading that is done on these designer papers, they can't possibly list every single color that would match up or coordinate, but you can certainly um, mix and match and tie them in yourself. Okay, this one is so pretty with the berry burst, and it doesn't list the browns that are in there, but I would tie in some pecan pie with that, or even put that on a background of espresso. And I meant to try to get to a card that using that with the browns, but I just haven't done that. So hopefully I'll do that later on today. Okay, here's another one with the roses, bringing in the blues and the pretty peacock and the pinky purples. And here's some, I don't know, what would those be? I forget what those are called. If you remember what those are called, let me know. Ranunculus or something like that. I'm not sure how you say that. Anyway, they're pretty. And then these with the more orangey and a little bit of the berry burst and the mossy meadow. But of course, there's old olive in there too when you're looking at the shading, right? So good morning, everybody. Hello, 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 Lynn. Lynn, I wanted to call you later on today. I hope you don't mind me mentioning to everybody here that Lynn, who is on my team, she just met one of her demonstrator achievements. And she is going to get a nice little gift from me for meeting a certain goal that she had. So congratulations, Lynn. You are officially qualified according to Stampin' Up. And in my eyes, you always qualified. So congratulations. Let's give Lynn some hands and some love, some hearts. Congratulations to her for making that milestone in her stamping, I guess you could call it career, whatever, stamping journey. There you go, stamping journey. Congratulations to you. Okay, so give me 1 second. I have to go over and plug in my heat tool so that we can do some embossing today. Hold on one second. Okay, I'm armed and ready. So here we go. A lot of stuff here today. Oh my gosh. It just, like I've mentioned other times, when I get going on a stamp set or a suite or a project, first I'm overwhelmed. Like, oh my gosh, there are so many things we could do with this, but where do I start? Hey, give me a thumbs up if you feel the same way. It's kind of like, ugh. All right, so then you just have to kind of say, just do it. Get in, pick one, and get started, because any important journey is going to begin with one step, right? So that's the step you have to take. And then from there, you can decide which path you want to go, but you have to make that first step, right? Not to get too philosophical today, but that's the truth. That's the truth. Alrighty. So let me just do a quick little recap as to the cards I've already shown this week. On Mondays, I have a private Zoom meeting with some of my longtime stampers from when I lived in New York. So since I'm no longer in New York, we get together on Zoom every Monday, and I've been calling it Mojo Monday. And what I do is I post those cards to you so that you can maybe be inspired as well. Okay, so that's what Mojo Monday is about. Can you see these if I leave the cellophane on? I'll take it out. You can see it better. Okay, so we did this layout, which included, the original included 3 panels that are raised up on dimensionals and then used either a die cut. Well, actually, they all used die cuts, didn't they? Used a die cut to go across those 3 panels. Those 3 panels are embossed. This one has the damask embossing on. I try to get the light just so. that you can see it. I guess that's kind of it. Put whatever label you want on there. This is one of the dies from the Charming Day. Here it is right here. This is one what I said was a standalone. So there's no stamp for this, but I used my Stampin' Blends to color it. Isn't that beautiful? That's the Strawberry Slush. Okay, so, and just to remind you, speaking of Strawberry Slush and Cloud Cover and Secret Sea, these are all in colors, 2025 to 27 in colors. And anything that has these colors are on sale this month with Stampin' Up. So the cardstock, the ink, the blends, some of the DSP that features those colors. So just look up in colors, 2025-27 in colors on the website where you shop, okay, on my store. And then it will come up and it'll show you the discounts. Okay, 15% off anything that uses those in colors, but you'll see it when you shop. You'll see what things are actually on sale. So that's a great deal. Take care of that this month. So that was my Mojo Monday. This one, I wanted to make a horizontal card, and I had already cut my strips. So I said, well, of course, I could have done them vertically across, but I wanted something different. So I put my panels horizontally and only fit 2 just to offset them. And I thought that came out really pretty as well. Okay, pop those up on dimensionals. And these also were more of those standalone dies, as was this. So that was featuring that layout with the standalone dies. Then Whip It Up Wednesday was you making more simple cards. So I just stamped. Sometimes taking out the embossing and the die cut machine requires a little bit more work and not that easy to just whip up something unless it's all handy. That's an option too. But so this is the layout. Notice it's pretty much the same layout, just kind of reversed. This, I use the flowers in this direction, which is how they show it on the stamp set here. Hi, Nadine. Hi, Michelle. But I also felt it could look very pretty in this vertical orientation as well. So same measurements and elements, but just oriented a little bit differently. So there we go. We had 5 cards using that between the dies and the stamps. So today we're going to be doing stamping, but also featuring more of the designer paper, because that way you get a full flavor, full flair of the suite and how it all coordinates. So another sip of coffee and we'll be on our way. All right, let's go. Of course, I have all these possibilities. Well, you could do this, you could do that, you could do the other thing. So where do I start? All right, let's start with one that's going to use the Night of Navy. Okay, see how this one turns out. I haven't done one in Night of Navy. So, of course, I'm leaving myself vulnerable and doing it with you live. So anyway, thanks for joining on, everybody, and thanks for watching the replay if you're doing that. Okay, part we're going to stamp on is 3 by 2 7/8. I know it's a weird measurement. I started out with a 3 by 3, but when I put it on this layer that I have was actually 3 1/4 inches wide by 3 3/4 tall. I just happen to have that, so I said, oh, okay, 3 by 3 fits there. It was laying on my desk. This is how a lot of my inspiration comes, just from things haphazardly laying close to or with something else. I said, oh, that could work. Okay, so I had this. This was a scrap from something, and I said, oh, well, this could go here. Now all I have to do is cut this down to make it a frame. I said, no, but wait, don't cut it down. We're going to emboss our sentiment right on that lower piece. So I don't have to do a separate piece, emboss my sentiment on that and make another layer. So we're going to emboss right on here. We're going to have Night of Navy card base, and I'm cutting it 4 1/4 by 11 and scored at 5 1/2. So this is going to be a vertical card, but it's going to have that tent style where it can stand up. Okay, I know sometimes they don't like to stand up all the time, especially, if it gets humid and the cards, the card can sometimes sag, whatever. But I just think it's sort of an elegant look, the way it stands nice and tall, and just tall elegance, how royal, regal looking. Then we need a white piece that is, let me get over here, just your typical layer, 5¼ by 4. And we're going to do some fun things with that. We can use our embossing folders, or I'm going to show you another idea. I'm going to try it out on this card. If I don't like it, we'll go to the embossing folder. And then we need a piece of that beautiful paper. So I chose this with the blues on it. It's just so gorgeous. That's 2¾ by 4½. Again, it was kind of like a scrap I had laying around, and they were kind of laying on top of each other. So, oh, let's put this all together. So our basic layout is going to be the card base, the white layer, this designer paper here, slightly to the left. We're going to make this a little askew, and I'm going to stamp on the white. I'm going to emboss down here on the black part, and then we're going to, I guess I could have made that Night of Navy also, but all my other cards use the black, so I figured let me keep with the black on that, just because. I'll show you some others that have a different color, but we'll go with this. So here we go. My other cards that I did stamp, what did I do with them? Oh, here we go. I used the big stamp. So I thought maybe for this one, I'll use the smaller stamp and just do like a random pattern all the way around there. So let's get that. Oh, I already have that out over here. Let me get these notes all to my side, all of the way. So we're going to stamp in Memento. And hi, Shirley. Nice to see you back. Memento black ink. And basically, this is my focal point. And of course, I already smudged, so I'm going to go on the back here. But this is the side of the paper that was down when I cut it. So my edge is sticking up a little bit, looking rough. So I'm just going to take my bone folder and pull it down and away so it flattens out a little more. Watch my fingers, and I don't get more smudges on there. Luckily, white paper and white scraps are easy to come by. We have a lot of them around. Okay, so this is going to be the single flower with those leaves there, just to be different from the other cards I made. You can certainly use anything you want. This card layout will work with any stamp, any embossing folder, any designer paper, so give it a whirl. All right, let's see. I'm going to even just go off the paper a little bit. I'm going to make it look like maybe a little spray coming down. So it doesn't look like, oh, bam, there's just a flower in the middle of that thing there, right? I kind of like that, just going down like that. Kind of pretty, right? Looks like I said, a little spray, a little garland maybe coming down. I can always add to that, so I'm going to leave it at that for now. And then we're going to color with some blends. Now, like I said on my Whip It Up Wednesday, if you haven't seen it, go watch. This stamp set is so easy to practice using your blends, your stamping blends, because there isn't a whole lot of shading or a lot of colors that have to go on there. So it really is pretty forgiving. I'm going to use Darling Duckling just because it's an in color. I want you to be able to see that in case that's something you want to purchase 15% off this month. And I thought the Darling Duckling would be nice on here. I didn't want to do blue flowers. I didn't want to do pinks. I have a lot of pinks on some of my other cards. So I wanted maybe yellows. I thought maybe the Daffodil Delight might be too bright for this kind of rich color here. So the Darling Duckling is more of a greenish yellow, and I thought it would be a little bit more subtle. So we're going to give that a try. When I'm coloring with blends, I like to start with my lighter color first. if I do my darker color and then go over, accidentally hit the darker color with my lighter color here, I might get some of the darker color on this tip. So I'd rather not do that just to be cautious. I'm not sure if it would come off, but that's the idea of blends, that you're kind of going over things and blending colors together. But I didn't want to get my darker green on the yellow. So I'm going to start with the yellow first, and we're going to do the dark. There are different schools of thought. You can do light first and then put dark highlights on. I often like to do the dark. I'm going to do the center more dark there, and then we'll add maybe just a touch of Timid Tiger so that that shows up a little bit more. Um, and then because the more inner part of the flower isn't getting as much light, so basically you want to think of where your light source might be. Maybe the lower part, if your light is coming over here, maybe the lower part would be more in shadows. Um, so I like to just put a little bit of the darker color toward the center of the flower. And maybe some of the petals that are kind of underneath, I can go up that a little bit. You can always come back and add more. You can't take it away. So now I'm going to the light. I'm just going to color over everything, and it will blend those colors. Now, since the yellow is kind of subtle, you might not see too much of that blending, but your eye compensates. If you look closely, you might see it. If I did this all in just the one color, it might look a little too flat. But just like when you're looking at things in nature, you might say, oh, that's a pink flower, but look up close and you'll see many shades to it, right? So let's see what happens here. The idea is that you want it to blend without being too terribly noticeable. You don't want to see a distinct line, at least not too much. Sometimes that's certainly fine. I know some very pretty flowers where you see lines, but okay. So I might go back and just add a few more highlights on there with my dark. Okay, I'm just kind of scribbling a little bit. Can you could see a little bit of variation in that color. Just some little bit darker in the middle. Okay, can you see a difference there? Okay, so it looks nice. It doesn't look too much of a difference from going from one color to the next. I'm going to take my light Timid Tiger, and I'm just going to add little touches to that center. To bring that out just a little bit more. Okay, now I don't want to bring too much of the orange in there, but it's just adds a little more contrast to that center. Now we're going to use Mossy Meadow. On my other cards, I use the Old Olive, so I wanted to try something different with you. And Mossy Meadow is in a lot of the designer paper, not necessarily on this one, but these are rich, dark colors, so I wanted to keep with that. You can use your brush tip or the felt tip. This is the felt tip. And basically, I'm just going over those lines. You don't have to be perfect. I'm just going over those veins of the leaves. Also, I thought the Mossy Meadow looked nice with the Darling Duckling. Kind of more of that rich color. Now we're taking our light, and we're going to go over this. In my Whip It Up Wednesday, as I was doing this, I said, oh, feels like when you paint your nails. Just do a couple little strokes. And they're kind of that oval shape anyway. Okay, so I like to kind of go on the outside first. Don't smush your tip, because sometimes you want that very fine tip to get into some places. So I'm kind of using the side and pressing down, kind of like when you paint your nails, right? 3 or 4 strokes, and bam, you're done. One, 2, 3, 4. Got that one done. So real pretty today. Does anybody else have this set? Anybody been using it? Anybody have it on their wish list? Okay. So yeah, there are several leaves to color, a few flowers, but it's really not difficult. It's easy coloring. Look at that. Isn't that pretty? So pretty. So pretty. I thought we'd put that on there like this. And before I glue this down, we're going to emboss down here. Now, I want to show you the embossing powders that Stampin' Up! Has. Of course, we have black, white, and clear. These come in a set. And you get them all together in one package, black, white, and clear. And then you have your metallics. We have silver and gold. I use my label maker to put labels on the top here because to look down here was kind of small. So I wanted to be able to see very quickly on the lid because I have these on a little shelf just like this. So it's easier for me to see. And copper. We don't use copper all that much. So I'm going to use that one a little later. But for now, I've done gold already. So I'm going to try silver on this one. And we'll see how that looks. For some reason, I mean, I know gold and blue look nice, but I tend to go more with silver when I'm using dark blue. So let me show you that. I haven't done some heat embossing in a while. So I thought I'd show you guys that. Some of you might be new to heat embossing. I don't know. Nadine needs no more flowers. Okay, I got it. Well, you can do this with any of your flower sets, Nadine. You know that. I'm sure you will. And Nadine is great for posting her designs online. So please check them out and please post some of yours. When you're embossing with embossing powder, you need Versamark or other craft ink. If you have gold craft ink and you're embossing with gold, that's sometimes a good option too, because the underneath will show gold if some of the embossing powder doesn't go through. Or if I'm embossing with white, I sometimes use my white craft ink because again, if somehow the embossing powder didn't stick all the way, at least underneath it's still white and it won't look too smudgy or whatever. Okay, so Versamark is going to. We're going to stamp down here on the bottom. Ooh, it looks pretty that way too. I'll have to decide which direction to put it. Oh my goodness. Well, it's not going to, wait a minute. Okay, yeah, it's got to go this way because I need a thinner border. So I wasn't thinking when I was stamping which direction is going to go. But this is why I cut it down to 7/8 because this was the piece of paper that I had and I wanted to stamp happy birthday and it wasn't going to fit when I had a 3x3 piece of white here. So I trimmed 1/8 of an inch off and it fits fine. So I just said, let me just stick with those measurements and it'll all be good. All right. This would also look pretty if you have a small sentiment on the top here, right? And then maybe putting a few gems down here. Oh, maybe I should do that. Oh, well, I want to show you the embossing. So here we go. I'll do that another time. I'll do it another time. This does have some small sentiments. Thanks for being you. Hey, you made my day. There's some small ones that could look really pretty up there. You made my day. Okay, doing that and then going across. Oh, you know what? I'm going to do some heat embossing on my next card. So you know what? See, you got to go with the whim when you get it. So we're going to just take a little turn here. And we're not going to emboss with silver. I'm going to stamp You Made My Day on there because there are plenty of people I can send that card to, that's for sure. Plenty of people have touched my life. And you guys here, you make my day. I love seeing people coming out. I love seeing some new people. I love being together and sharing what we love here. Okay. These stamps, I haven't yet put the decals on. So I'm going to show you quickly how to do that. I know you might have seen it before. I do not follow the instructions on here because I find that too difficult to try to line up. They say to put the decal on here and then, no, to leave the decal here and then line this up. But when I do that, I get the shadows and I have to get my head down practically on the table. So that's kind of not my thing. So I found this other way, and then I found other people have also thought of it. But wasn't all me. It was me in the beginning, but other people figured that out themselves too. Very smart people around. So I put the label on my block, peel off the backing, and then I'm going to bring the label to my stamp. Make sure you have it the right way. And then I can now see where the edge of that label is. So I'm just going to get closer and closer, gently maneuvering until I know I'm really straight. Closer, 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 and boop, I hit it down, and it's perfect. Okay, so I'm going to just stamp "You Made My Day" over there. And this is good because, as you know, I haven't used this sentiment yet. So Memento's coming back out. Guess I could have embossed this in silver, but no. Okay, make sure with your small stamps that you do not rock them on your ink pad and you do not want to get black around your edges, and don't rock it on your paper. And there you go. You have your sentiment there. And then put that aside. We're going to put that on here. You made my day. I see Lois on here. Oh, Love Heat Embossing. Got a bit of Dazzling Diamond. That Dazzling Diamond is something Stampin' Up! Doesn't carry anymore. But it's a very, very fine glitter powder. And if you don't already know, my friend Lois loves her Dazzle, Razzle Dazzle. Glitter, Dazzling Diamonds, Wink of Stella. Dazzling Diamonds kind of did what Wink of Stella does, but a little bit heavier. You know, you would put on your card kind of like embossing powder. Okay, so that's very pretty, isn't it? So then now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to put some pearls down here. I think that would look lovely. Just a little row of maybe 3 pearls down here, and we'll be good to go. Now this part, we don't want to leave that plain. That would just look a little too plain right now. So we're going to put that through an embossing folder. So I already did some embossing. Let's figure out which one we want to use. Oh, actually, no, I'm sorry. See, I have all these ideas. I forgot. Here's a piece of white. It might be hard for you to see, but I did some clear embossing on this one. I used the same flower. I stamped it with a Versamark, which is a little hard to see on the white. So I kind of would hold it to light and see where the shimmer was. And I scattered those flowers all around. And I know that's very difficult to see on the camera. Trust me, it's there. But I'm going to try going over that with a little ink to bring out where those clear embossing flowers are. So I'm going to see how this works out. If I don't like it, we'll go to a regular embossing folder for this. So I'm going to take, this is Night of Navy. I'm going to take Night of Navy, but I'm going to go very, very light with it to start, and then we can go further. So I want just a very light, hazy glow, enough to bring out where those flowers are. Where the clear embossing powder is, it's going to resist the ink, and it's going to show white underneath. It's going to keep staying white. Hi, Joan. Good morning. Welcome. So when you're using your blends, your blending brushes, rather, you want to tap your ink, and your first impact of your brushes is going to be pretty strong, and you're going to get the tips of those on there. So you want to kind of tap off a little bit, especially if you want a very light image there. So I'm going to tap off a little bit, and then I'm going to start swirling. Now, when I put this card together, the center is not going to show all that much, right? So I might experiment by starting in the middle and then bringing it a little bit more to the outside. All right. And with the darker colors, sometimes it's a little hard not to get those brush strokes. But I'm starting in the middle where it's not going to be seen, and then just bringing some outside. Now maybe you'll be able to see that where the clear embossing powder was, it's not picking up the ink. There we go. You can see that there. So that's kind of the look I want, but I want it very subtle on the outside, on the edge. You can even leave it just the clear embossing on the white. And if you want, that's a nice elegant look, good for wedding cards or sympathy. Okay, so let's ignore what's in the middle. And we can see a little bit of that resist going on over here. We have just that little lighter color. So let's put that on the navy and see how that looks. Okay, you know what? I think I'm going to save that for another card because I think the different shadings of the blue is just not quite what I was looking for, because you never know until you actually try it. But I do love this look, and I'm going to use that for something else. See, if I had it just on here and I did a little bit more, it would look beautiful. But I think between this, the cardstock base, this is a totally different shade, and then we have total more shades on here. I'm not liking the combination, but let me just do a little bit more on here, just in the center, and then you'll be able to see how that looks. And then what you want to do also is, since there is some ink on the embossing powder, if you actually rub it so that that ink comes off, because it's a resist. So two things. Number one, you don't want to touch it and get the ink on your fingers. It's not going to soak into the embossing. So, and also it will bring that image out a little bit more. Okay, so look at the middle there. Isn't that pretty? So I will use that for something else. So this is why we try things. So we're just, luckily I just did some other plain embossing. So I'm making a lot of changes as we go along here. Or doing white embossing on the white is also a very pretty look as well. So let's see, which one should I use? I'm thinking maybe the exposed brick would look very pretty on this. So yeah, I like that. I think it's very nice. So we'll put that all together real quickly, glue everything down. And oh, thanks, Lynn. Glad you like it. All right. So I thought it was fun at the retreat. There were some people who attended the retreat who only knew each other from their names on Facebook or YouTube on the lives. So when we got together at the retreat, either people in person or virtually, it was fun. They said, "Oh, it's so nice to give the name a face." So now when you see those names on the lives or people making comments or posting, now you can say, "Oh yeah, I met her, I know her." Okay, so that's slightly offset, and then this is going to go over that way. So we have balance to the card where this is a little off this way and this is a little high. It's so you're kind of crisscrossing and balancing in different ways. So not everything is justified left or justified right or up or down. So I'm going to put this on with dimensionals, of course. And I'm going to be using my black. You might have heard me say that the black dimensionals come in a combo pack, which is awesome. The only problem is I have tended to, in the past, go toward the big black dimensionals. So I have a ton of sheets that are the minis. And oh gosh, I don't know how many are here, but I vowed to myself I am not opening up another pack to use the big ones until I get through with most of the mini ones. So here we go. But you know what? It's a good thing in a way because you can disperse them more. If I had the big ones on here, I would have used 9 big ones because I want every edge, corner, and the center. But this is using the minis, so in a way, you get more value out of that because you saw how many minis are on that sheet. So there we go. And then I'm going to put that here. You made my day. Then I'm going to put some pearls down here. Let me see. I don't have. Yeah, I could do. If I wanted to, I could do the yellow in color pearls. These would be on sale this week, guys. So would that take away from the flowers? See, I don't know until I actually get them out and look. Let me see. Well, I think it might be nice to have a little something else yellow on there. Okay. Now the question is, I think I'll use the medium size ones. So because this is justified left, my DSP, I'm going to put these more on the right. So again, there you're getting the balance. 1, 2, I said things are good in 3s. So yeah, in color pearls. There you go. They'd be on sale, 15%. I like that a lot. Do you like that? I think it looks pretty. Of course, you'll put something on the inside, right? Okay, use another strip of your designer paper on your white cardstock for the inside, and you're good. All right, Lois, I hear you speaking to me. Put some Wink of Stella on there. I hear you. You're not typing it, but it's in your head. I know. So I will do that. Let me just get my Wink of Stella here. If you're not familiar with it, it's a brush tip pen that has a liquid in it that has a little bit of glimmer to it, shimmer, I would say. I'm not even going to say glitter. It has a little shimmer, and I'm going to put just a little bit on the inside and radiating out a little bit on the petals. That looks pretty. There we go. Brings a little bit of shine to an otherwise, it was a very pretty card, but it really does add something. So thanks, Lois, thinking of you. All right, so there we go. There's one. And then the next one, I'm going to, instead of stamping on that centerpiece that's going on the black, okay, let me just start with a plain here for a minute. We're going to use an emboss here, but I'm going to use a print instead of stamping on that center focal piece. So the back of this is the Mossy Meadow. I'm going to use the Mossy Meadow card base, so those coordinate. You'll see that in all of my cards. Whatever piece I use here is the same color as my card base. And then here's my black piece that's going to go across. And instead of doing a white and stamping, we have the beautiful paper. Let's just use it, right? So that's going to be my focal point right there like that. And I loved this one with the Mossy Meadow background. Let me bring that a little closer so you can see. Very, very pretty. The flowers and the oranges and pinks are gorgeous. And this one, I thought we would try copper embossing. Okay, just the copper and that Mossy Meadow I thought would look very, very nice. So let's try that. You didn't get to see me emboss the last time, so I'll do it here. So you just take a little turn. It's like a new adventure. Like Robert Frost, The Road Not Taken. Okay. Way right back, right down to the bottom. So that fits. I will take my copper embossing powder. And once you have your verse mark on there, you want to get your embossing powder on as soon as you can. And again, I forgot to use my embossing buddy. This is because it went, oh, here it is over my curtain. The embossing buddy is something Stampin' Up! Used to sell, but they don't anymore. But actually, you can't get it alone. It comes part of your embossing set. But it's an anti-static, so if you rub it on there before you stamp, then you won't get these little flakes sticking over there. But you know what we're going to do? I'm just going to rub that off, and I'm going to use the flip side so I can use my embossing buddy. Okay, it reminds me of what you would use on your hands when you went bowling. So your hands, the ball doesn't slip out of your hands. So I'm just going to put that on there. It's just a very fine powder. And then you stamp. Maybe I always think of you when I'm doing the embossing buddy. I don't know why, because you do a lot of embossing. Okay, now I'm going to pour that on there and hopefully don't get extra flakes. There we go, not bad. Gonna make sure that's covered all the way. Don't worry, you're not wasting all this powder. It can funnel right back into your little jar. And I do keep a very fine tip paintbrush next to me just in case there's something on there that I don't like. I wonder, do embossing buddies eventually lose their status? I've had this one for years. But once in a while, even though I go over it, I think I see a little something. Okay. Very important rule here. Close your jar of embossing powder before you turn on your heat tool and it blows all over the place. Okay, I'm not doing any more copper, so I'm just going to funnel that right back in. This has a little funnel tip at the end. And close it and put it aside. Okay, so Stampin' Up! Does have a heat tool. I've had this one long before, for years and years. So I don't have the Stampin' Up! One. Stampin' Up! One, I think, has a high and a low. Can somebody confirm that for me? If somebody online uses the Stampin' Up! One? Okay, so these papers might fly away too, so I'm just going to put those aside a little bit. So now here's my thing with using the heat tool on the embossing. Some people, okay, first of all, you want to just run your heat tool for like a few seconds so that the air gets hot, because the powder is going to melt and get shiny when it gets to a certain temperature. Some people move it around like this, like they're trying to disperse the heat a little bit and not get it too hot. Well, that to me is you're not getting the embossing powder hot right away. So it's kind of like opening the oven and closing it, opening it and closing it. You're letting some heat out. So what I always taught my girls to do, and what I always do, is I'll heat up the air first away from my project. Then when I know it's hot enough, I'll bring it. And then as soon as it starts to melt, I'm just holding it in one spot, like the beginning of the word. As soon as it starts to melt, I move it along gradually and I watch it melt right down the line, because if I move it away, now it's not as hot anymore. And I move it back, it's getting hot, and then it's not getting hot. So I don't like going back and forth over. I don't see a need to do that. So I'm going to show you right here. It's going to be a little loud, but you should be able to see. I'll hold it close to the camera here. All right, here we go. So heating that up first. Okay, I feel that it's very hot. I'm going to start on the one side of my word. I'm holding it still. Once it starts to melt, I just gently move it along. Once it's melted, you can move it. And then I might just go over it and make sure everything's done. And there you go. Because, like I said, once it's heated enough and it's starting to melt, you don't want to take it away before it's totally done. I call it a wave. You just go over it like a wave and it washes right down and it gets that embossing done. That's my method and that's my concept. So, so there we go. That's what we're going to do. Okay, so now look how pretty that looks. I love that because copper has sort of a pinky orangey look to it, right? So now you can see I got a little smudge of some embossing there. It's hard to see sometimes. But anyway, I just thought that copper would look really pretty with that, and I do like it. So I'm going to put that on. Just like that. And yeah, so let the designer paper be your focal point, the star of the show, as I like to say, and it sure is. Alrighty, so now help me decide. This is where you get to play along, if you're live anyway. I have 3 embossed layers here. One is the birch. Can you see that? Oh, it's hard to see on the white. Oh, let me show you the actual envelope so you can see better. Okay, we did the exposed brick already. I did So Swirly on one of the others, and I did the Forever Plaid on one of the others. I'll show you those when we're done, so don't go away. And so right now I have mini corrugated, and I have birchwood. All right, so I would put the birchwood vertical. The corrugated I did in both directions because I don't know which one would look best. So let's decide. We have, might be hard to see, but do the best you can or give me an opinion. Okay, I have the birchwood. You can put on here like that. Now you're not going to see too much of it, but you can tell it's kind of a wood grain. I'm not sure if you can see it on the camera, but I do think that looks very pretty. Or the other options are, I did a mini corrugated vertical and I did one horizontal. Okay, so let's see what works here. The horizontal one. Ooh, that looks nicer than I thought it would. See, like I said, you never know till you actually look at it in person. Kind of looks like mini blinds, doesn't it? That's pretty. All right, now let's see what it looks like vertical. You can actually see this one more, not just on the camera, but you can see it in person more than you can the birch. Although I love the birch, it has that nature look to it. Okay, let's look at the vertical. Looks lovely too. And can you see that? Trying to get the light. There you go. Maybe you can see down here a little bit. Okay, do you have a vote? Nadine says corrugated. You think corrugated vertical or horizontal, Nadine? What are you? I know it's a little hard to see. Let me try to show that again. All right, here's the vertical. Maybe you can see it better on your screen than mine. I don't know. And then here's the horizontal. Like that. That you can see better. I guess just the angle of the light in my overhead. Horizontal. All right, Nadine, you're the first vote. I'm going with that. And you know what? That would have been my vote too, the horizontal. Because 2 reasons. Number one, I could see it better. And these are more vertical, so it's nice to have contrast of something going horizontal. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. Let's glue this down. Thanks for your help. And Okay, so but guys, I really appreciate you joining on live, and if you're watching the replay, that's fun too. Please, you really help me out. You might not know it, but it really helps me when you do make comments, when you share. If you like the video, share it, to your page, and people that might like it. I do appreciate that a lot. Oh, you know what? See, this is what I said. It was kind of sitting like this. Some some designs like to kind of offset this. I tend to say it's kind of like looks like the way you hold cards, a hand of cards. It's kind of spread out a little bit. So if this were a little thinner, this might look pretty in that kind of design too. Or if you want, you could just do a center. You could do it taller. I kind of like the offset here a little bit. And at first, I was thinking, okay, this is kind of plain, unlike the ones that we did before. The blue had a little bit more pattern to it. And I was thinking that's kind of plain. So I was thinking, what would it be like if I did something on here? Now I could stamp like the little leaves that coordinate with the leaves here. Full strength might be too much. Stamping off might be an option, but also doing that clear embossing on the green would show up more. It would be very shiny. It would show up more than on the white. So I gave both of those a try. All three of those a try, rather, on a piece of scrap paper. So I stamped full strength, and then I did a second generation stamping, which was lighter, which I liked better. This was a little too strong. And then over here is where I did clear embossing, which I really liked as well. But then once I chose this paper to go on there, I thought that was busy enough that I really didn't need the clear embossing. But if I had something more simple on here, I definitely would do this clear embossing on that more plain paper, or if I was using cardstock here. So, but because this doesn't show all that much anyway, and this is very busy, I'm just leaving it just like that. I think it's going to be lovely. So I always like sharing my reasoning with you because then that helps you think out what you like, or if there's a rhyme or reason to something, it can make more sense. Or maybe it doesn't make sense to you and you say, nope, I don't like that. I'm not doing it. That's okay too. It's okay too. One thing with the corrugated lines, it's easy to make your layers straight, right? Okay, then that's going on with dimensionals again. Bear with me as we do this. 9, 3 across the top, 3 across the middle, and 3 at the bottom. I have to pick these up with my take your pick tool. Otherwise, they're tiny. Well, too tiny for my fingers to pick up. They stick. They're tiny whether I use my pick tool or not, just to be clear. Okay. Like the green paper without stamping, was it? Yeah, I did too. Just when I was first kind of planning this out, before I put my focal element on there, I said, I don't know. You know what I would do is I would maybe do this clear embossing. If I did the clear embossing on here, then I would maybe not stamp something. But here we go. I have some extra dies here from the standalone dies, and I would follow up with that leaf pattern. And I would put a leaf across with the clear embossing in the back. That looks beautiful. And then the sentiment there, that would look gorgeous. Kind of with that shine of the pattern behind it, right? And that looks lovely too, right? So there you go. That's another card. See, I'd be here all week just playing around with these ideas. Okay. go. Isn't that paper pretty? Oh, it's soft but colorful. And I just love it. Okay, then you could, of course, put some embellishments on. I'm not going to worry about it too much right now because the um, corrugated is quite bold. So I'm not sure this one needs the embellishment. Okay, so that's number 2. And I know we're coming up to the end here. So what I have are some that are already done to show you. Here is that same pattern. Instead of in the mossy meadow, I should bring this a little closer. Instead of in the mossy meadow, I decided to do it in a berry burst because that paper is in there. And look at how pretty that is. Just gives it a little bit different look. But did you notice I didn't use black here? I used the mossy meadow to pick up the mossy meadow that's in there. So, and on the background, I used the So Swirly embossing folder. Okay, so that's really pretty. That's one I used. Did I use it on one of these other cards? No, I didn't. Never mind. So that's the same card, just different colors and different. Same layout, same DSP. Otherwise, it's different. Okay, then here's one in the pretty peacock with gold embossing. And this is the plaid. I wouldn't always think to use plaid with a beautiful floral because sometimes I see the plaid. I think more of wintry cards or I think of masculine cards. But it really works well on there. And if it's hard to see in the camera, come back to Facebook or if I get them on my blog, you can see them there. Better to see them in actual photographs. But I just love this one too. Although there isn't really a lot of peacock in here. I think it's a nice contrast. And there are lots of different shades of blues and greens in here. So the fact that I see very little actual peacock, I see some on a little stem here and here, but I think there's still enough contrast that it's really pretty. So that's that. And then this is one that started this whole layout, to be honest, kind of an extension of what I did on this card. I used those same colors. I had a piece of this paper that I was experimenting with my blends. I said, well, let me use that. I'm not going to waste it. And I used the same background designer paper with the little leaves on here. And I did the card in this design. And I think that came out beautiful. This is the Blackberry Bliss. And that one I did put one of the dyes in there. I used my blends to color it. And I thought that came out really, really pretty. And I put the brass butterflies on there. And so this was the first. And kind of went along and did the rest here. And then this was the first card that we did today. So see how you can just take a simple design, change up one or two things, and then you have a variety of cards that kind of look all different. So just to recap all of the Floral Charm. Let me see if I can bring them all back in here. There we go. It's beautiful. So now I have lots of cards to give away. And I hope you work on some nice ones this weekend as well. Let me see if there are any questions. I like the versatility of this card. Yeah, it is. So again, it doesn't have to be florals. Use, this could be good for masculine design. Use the woven textures or something more whimsical, like ocean animals or the otters or whatever. Those are retired now, but you get the idea, right? Something more fun. The layout can work for anything, and it's really kind of easy. So what made it a little bit more tricky was, okay, yes, you need your embossing machine. If you do the heat embossing, that takes a little bit more. But if you kept it real simple, this could be like a Whip It Up Wednesday kind of card too. So there you go. Thank you. I hope you like that too. Oh, thanks, Shirley. You do? Okay. Which one is your favorite? You prompted me now. Which ones are your favorite? Which ones? Okay. And like I said, do kind of look different in person too. But tell me, I want to know. Cards in different colors. Yeah, it's fun. All right. Good luck with your car, Nadine. Have a great weekend with your grandchildren. I like how the GSP highlights the card. Okay, yeah, thanks, Nadine. Like that. Okay, I want to see if there are any other comments. Okay, waiting to hear from Shirley what her favorite is. Okay, thanks, Susan. Glad you like the cards. And Iris. Hi, Iris. I missed you before. Thanks for watching. Yeah, we went with the horizontal. Yep, everybody likes the horizontal. Good for the embossing. Very good. Robert Frost brought you to college. Oh, taking the road. Okay, the road less traveled on. All right, Joan. I'm sure that's an interesting story, and I hope it ended well for you. I imagine, otherwise you might not have mentioned that. But anyway, all right. Have a great weekend, everybody. Thanks again for watching. And don't forget, please, leave a comment, say hello, tell me what you like. Give the thumbs up, share. It really helps. I would love to get to 22,000 subscribers on YouTube if I can by the end of the Stampin' Up! Year. Just a fun goal. Okay, it's not going to bring me anything, but it's just kind of like a fun thing. So, okay, Shirley says mossy meadow and the blackberry. Okay, mossy meadow and the blackberry. Yep, I think those are beautiful too. Beautiful. Okay, thank you. All right, take care, everybody. Bye-bye now.